So then responsible for, bringing business, making sure that you're influencing customers. And consulting is all about, business coming to you when you're able to influence your customers. And that is exactly true. Influencing customers is all that process of adding value. And then I moved to Europe. And from Europe, I came to Dubai. And Dubai region was set up by me. In Dubai, I've got like over 80 plus customers, starting with all the big names as well as some middle names. Unfortunately, during all that time, never had the opportunity to work with smaller SMEs, because obviously the nature of consulting world was that you can only work with companies who would ask you to come in. True. Right? I think I'll go a bit deeper on the aspect of how I transition from consulting and advisory to being on board of a technology company. So when we are sitting down with the customer, most of the time you're involved when there are challenges that are not very easily solved, right? Nobody is trying to. Cases. Yeah. I mean, companies don't talk to you when they say, hey, I want to set up a sourcing process. Companies will talk to you when they want to come back and say, what this sourcing needs to do for me. Right? Yeah. Or if I have got a very complex process at the hand, how can I actually leverage technology to do for me? And therein your job becomes two things, right? One part of the job is that you give an independent hearing to the customer's processes, because chances are that what you may think as best practices or naturally agreed best practices, it may be too difficult for customer to move to that.
Or maybe they have already experienced it and they face challenges in that.
Exactly. Or for the simple thing, it may not be their best practice, because every entrepreneur has a right to apply his trade his own way.
Absolutely.
And while we may say that there are agreed business business best practices,
correct,
but those are still guidelines. Not
how it applies in the market is completely different.
Exactly, right? So quite a few times you end up having those conversations of trying to understand what they are. Then you also don't want customer to get into, now it becomes the part of execution. Fine, you've understood the process, you've understood where they're heading from, the strategy. Now comes the part of execution. And there are two aspects that you look at. You look at the people who are going to be involved as actors in the execution, and you look at the systems and the technology. I would say not sometimes, but this is what was happening to me. The technology became so much more powerful and it had to be overemphasized that we had to overlook the people part. Because the technology represented a block which was not agile. Right? Agree. And I'm not saying these are bad technology products. These are some of the best of the breed technology products. Just that the nature of those technologies was such that it ended up becoming like, if you're going to customize this box, it's going to end up being very costly. It's going to end up being counterproductive and end up, producing more risk points for the customer to manage. So now you've reached a deadlock. Now you want to go and sell the processes which are configured in the technology as best practices back to the owner of the company or the senior management of the company, and then later on shove it down the throat of the people who are going to be using it. You've created in a very small, simple process what started from a customer pain point objective to what now to now how to fit that technology that has been chosen
to the ecosystem. Interesting point.
So I think this, as more and more complexity of business problems and scale started to go up, more specifically on concepts of automation and optimization, both on the supply chain and planning side as well as on the procurement side, the greater the feeling started to happen that maybe these are not the right technology products. And I would not go and say that that is the company's problem. They are some of the best breeds. I'm still a fan of those companies, but it's just pretty much where the zenith of technology had reached. It was an interesting time for me. It was an illness in the family that forced me to get some 2-3 months off.
Okay.
And through a common friend, I was introduced to another organization. That's when I came in contact with FEGO. And I asked them that if you're making such tall claims, I can understand what you've got out there, but you're making such tall claims, why don't we get into a demo? So the proof of the pudding is in eating it.
True.
And I got into like close 16 hours of demo. And I was excited. I was excited to the point where I started calling up my colleagues in the business that, hey, you know what? We keep talking about these 500 constraints that we have to do. Now, with this product, if they're big, if they can become as big as what, and customers can start buying them, then, I can walk into a customer and hear them out fully without the constraints of where I will have to fit that tool hard process back to them. Right?
Interesting.
And I think it was there then my next step of evaluation for the product was at what level of detail it is. Right? You can make 5 good process, but 15 very average processes, and it's sort of a problem. And that's where I was a bit surprised to see that the detail that was there, whether it is sourcing, whether it is collaboration, whether it is, procure to pay. Like procure to pay is as strong as an ERP or like an S4HANA ERP, right? And I have always say that S4HANA and Oracle, EBS, these are like a little cut above the rest. And their procure to pay was as strong as you pretty much don't need an ERP to run a process out there. So I'm not saying don't do that. And that's where then the question mark was, can I be the guy who also can contribute towards bringing this to the customer? And that's when I think my journey, where I was invited to join at the board level, and I also did some trial runs with our customer, and for the longest amount of time, starting from my early days into consulting, when everything would basically brighten your eyes up, to now when I am talking to the customer, I'm feeling empowered. I'm quietly sitting confident. Okay, fine. Whatever this customer comes out to me, I don't have to go and also give him and say everything that you've asked, you will get it. There is obviously going to be a moderation. That's my value addition.
That's the value addition.
But I don't have to shove things down their throat.
Absolutely. So excellent points coming in from Divya, who's part of FECO, leading the domain, as a board member. So we wish you all the best in this journey, and let's look forward for more success stories.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Pat.